Looking around the internet, there are many people who make a claim about veganism. And the claim they make is that it's not sustainable long term. If you're vegan for any length of time, they say that your body will start to feed on itself. You'll eventually starve to death in some way due to lack of vital nutrients. Rather than give my opinion on that, I thought it would be cool if I just tell you my story, because I have quite a story. And it may not be the story you're expecting. I'm sure some people will find my story a little bit upsetting. I don't mean to upset anyone with this, it's just the truth, it's just my experience. So let's dig into it. I think the best way to show you is with a photograph, so check this out. This was me many years ago. My friend, for some reason, decided to ambush me with a camera as I was just coming out of the bathroom, which is why I look slightly confused. But I think it's clear to see from this picture that I was not in great health. I remember my BMI at this time was around 17.5, which is definitely in the underweight range. It's clear to see I was underweight. And yeah, I was not in a good place. What caused me to look like this? You may be thinking that this is the result of long-term veganism. It's not. This was my before picture. Now, I'm not claiming that animal products did this to me. That would be a foolish claim, not one I would ever make. I actually have a condition called celiac disease, wherein if I consume gluten, it causes my immune system to attack my body. And that leads to me not being able to absorb nutrition from my food. And what you're seeing in this picture is the result of 30 plus years of undiagnosed celiac disease. You can imagine it's like having malnutrition and being poisoned at the same time. That's essentially what celiac disease is. In this picture, I'd been on a gluten-free diet for about 2 years. Most people with celiac disease, when they go gluten-free, their symptoms go away. But for a small minority, I guess, of more severe cases, and I believe that's about 5% of celiac patients, their adoption of a gluten-free diet is not enough. And I was one of those people. As you can see here, 2 years gluten-free, still looking like a walking corpse, which is not good. And in all honesty, at this point in time, I didn't really know what to do or how to fix my health. I had no idea. But I think it was about 8 months after this was taken, I stumbled across a diet on the internet, which was a completely vegan diet, and it was called the 80-10-10 diet. And it was based around fruit. It was a raw vegan diet with lots of calories based around fruit. So I gave it a whirl. And you know what? It worked beautifully for me. I gained weight quite quickly. I think within 4 weeks of adopting my own kind of skewed version of the 80-10-10 diet, because I never followed it to the letter. I'm not that kind of guy. But yeah, within 4 weeks of doing it, my BMI was within a healthy range. And then for the next 18 months or so, I continued to gain weight and feel better and better. So about a year and a half after this picture was taken, I then looked like this. My BMI at this time was 24, which is most definitely in the healthy range. It's probably the ideal weight for someone to be. And there the story ends. I adopted a whole foods, high carb vegan diet. I ate loads of fruit. I gained weight. I was healthy. But that's not entirely the end of the story, because I think it was another year after this picture was taken of eating this uh, mostly raw, fruit based, high carb vegan diet, it kind of stopped working so well for me. I didn't lose the weight again, but I found I was feeling less and less energized and more bloated and hungry all the time, and then consuming large amounts of fruit, but it wasn't satisfying me. And I think that's the point where many people decide veganism isn't for them after all, and they go back to consuming meat, or depending on how obsessive they are, they might swing all the way in another direction and go on some other, all meat diet or something crazy like that. And um, I didn't. I don't have that personality type. I just thought, okay, let's gradually shift my life and fix this. So I just became more relaxed about food and just started eating pretty much whatever I felt like. And from that point onwards, I've had no problems whatsoever. My honest opinion is that there is no one diet that is perfect all the time, all the way through your life. You're gonna have to mix it up with your food if you want to feel good all the time. Um, and I think many people get very, very obsessional with their food, and then it doesn't work, and then they throw it all away, and they throw the baby out with the bathwater and go on to the next weird obsessive diet. My approach to food nowadays is very much, if it's cheap and tasty and makes me feel good afterwards, then I'm all in. If it's cheap and tasty and I don't feel so good afterwards, but it's really tasty, I'll occasionally give that a try as well. But it always has to be vegan, because I'm vegan for ethical reasons, not for health reasons. I've enjoyed the benefits of long-term veganism, in that I'm free of illness. When, if you go back to looking at my starting point, you would never have thought that I would be. But my reason for veganism has always been ethical. So whenever I've felt like I needed to change, I've always done so within veganism, and I've never had any problem doing that. So it's not that exciting a story. Or maybe I'm just not a great storyteller. But essentially, long-term veganism has worked for me. I'm living proof that it can work. I believe there are some people for whom it hasn't worked, but I think the reasons are either they have an underlying health issue which has not been addressed, or they're doing something that's not working which they could have changed but didn't. That's my honest opinion. When people say that veganism is inherently unhealthy and it's a starvation diet and that you can't possibly survive on it long term, well, you can probably imagine what goes through my mind. Here I am, going against the grain. This is probably going to be an unfashionable opinion on YouTube, because I know the fashion is to be, hey, I'm an ex-vegan, and it didn't work for me, but it's worked for me. It's worked for me very well. I have been able to overcome a serious illness. I started being sick, emaciated, depressed, and in pain, and ended up thriving, a perfect weight, happy and pain-free, as this picture shows. So there it is, that's my story. Just one man's anecdote, and you can make of it what you like, but there it is. I hope it's been interesting and useful to someone out there. Thanks for watching.